Tav Nun Amid Aleph, 3 lines from the top. On that day there will be no light, Yikaras Vikipoin. So it's referring to the time of the Mashiach, the Tkufa of Mashiach, by the Milchamas Gog and Magog, and it says that the light will be, there'll be no light, Yikaras Vikipoin. What does that mean? Ma Yikaras Vikipoin, what does that mean? Amar Rabbi Elazar, or is referring to the light of the sun. Sheyakar b'olam hazeh, it's precious in this world, it's choshev in this world, v'kafui lo'olam haba. In the world to come, Lasid Lavai will be considered insignificant. So, the Lashon of Yakaras from Lashon Vikar, of precious. B'olam hazeh, it's precious. Kipoin is floating, is trivial, is insignificant. Olam haba, relative to the great light, Olam haba, Lasid Lavai, it will be considered to be insignificant. Rabbi Yochanan Amar different shot el in the Goyim v'olos. It's referring to the Masechtas, the halachas in the Goyim v'olos. She yikaras b'olam hazeh, which are difficult. In the lashon of yikar means heavy. It's heavy. It's difficult. It's hard to understand. B'olam hazeh u'kafuim lo'olam haba. It'll be light. It'll be considered trivial. Lo'olam haba. It'll be easy to understand. Lo'olam haba. Rav Shua ben Levi says a different shot el b'nei adam sheyakar min b'olam hazeh. It's referring to people who are choshev in this world, who kfuyim hein lo'olam haba, and will be considered insignificant lo'olam haba. It's referring to certain type of people who in this world are considered to be choshev, prominent, and lo'olam haba they won't be. Ki had Rav Yosef Rav Shua ben Levi cholash is not. He got sick, he was sick, and then he fell unconscious. And as we'll see, he fell unconscious and actually he was nifter. Ki hadar amar le'avua, when he regained consciousness, his father asked him, "My chasis, what did you see in the next world? What did you see in the world to come?" So my chasis amar le, he said, "Olam havach reisi, I saw a world that's upside down. El Yoinim Lamata, the ones who are El Yoinim. The Choshev ones are Lamata, the ones who are Choshev in this world, in the world to come, are on the bottom. V'tachtainim, the ones who are low here, then V'tachtainim, the El Yoinim, Sa'avach Risi, El Yoinim Lamata, V'tachtainim Lamala. I saw the El Yoinim who are Lamata, V'tachtainim, the ones who are lower down in this world, are El Yoinim Lamala, they're in the world to come, they're Lamala. So it's an Olam Hafel. Amar Loi, he said to his son, Beni Olam Bora Reisa, you saw a clear vision, you saw the world clearly. Meaning, that's the way it really is. V'anan Heche Hasam. Now he asked the son, what are we, the Talmid Chacham, how do we appear in the Olam Haba? So he said, Ki Hecha the way we are here, that's the way we are there. The chashivas that we have here, we have there. So, l'chera, you'd say from the Pshat in the Gemara that the Gemara means the Pshat in the Gemara is that the question was when he says that what did you see, and he said Olam Havach, is not referring to Talmid Chachamim. He's not referring to the Talmid Chacham, because then he asks him subsequently, and he says, Anan Heichi Hasam, how do we appear over there? So it's mashma that the question was in general, how do people appear? And he said that it's opposite. The people who, meaning from the general population, not from the Talmid Chacham, meaning from the general population, he said it's Hafuk. The people who are Choshev here, over there, it's the opposite. The El Yoinim are Lamata, V'tachtainim are Lamala. So what's the pshat with that? Why should that be? We understand that Rishoyim, that even though they're Choshev here, then in the Lasid Lavai, they'll be Lamata. And Tzadikim, even if they're not given COVID, here in the Lasid Lavai, they will be. But if we're talking about the world at large, why should that be? So the Maral explains is that the Aniyim people, the poor over here, they have less connection to Olam Hazeh, at least in those days. Today is a different world. But in those days, the poor had less connection to Olam Haza, and the wealthy had more connection. So therefore, the Elyonim. Now we're not talking about Talmidei Chachamim. The Elyonim were therefore lamata, because they had such a connection to the Olam Hagashmi. In Olam Haba, they had less connection to the Olam Haruchni. But the ones who were lamata, the poor, they had less connection to the Olam Hagashmi. They were higher up in Olam Haba. And anon Talmidei Chachamim, the way the chashivas that we have here, meaning the bigger the Talmid Chacham, the greater he is, Olam Haba, and the lesser, the lesser. That's l'chayr how you would understand the Pshat. The Gemara, Rav Moshe Feinstein does not seem to learn that way. He learned it was going even that Al Yonim and Tachtain was referring to Talmidei Chacham also. And his question was that why should it be that the Talmidei Chachamim, that you have Talmidei Chacham who are greater or lesser Talmidei Chachamim, Loas Lavai, someone who is a less of a Talmidei Chacham appears greater, Loilam Haba. There is a mashmois like Rav Moshe from the Taisus and Baba Basra, where Taisus comments on the relative importance of Rav Yehuda and Shmuel. So what is the answer? Why is that way? So Rav Moshe answers because it's based on not on the actual accomplishment, but on the realization of one's potential. The ones who are choshev lo'olam haba, the ones who maximize their potential, whatever that potential may be, are choshev. The ones who don't maximize their potential, even though they may have greater accomplishments than the other, they are not as high. And he said, I also heard that they were saying, so how fortunate is the one who comes Lo'olam Haba and he is learning Talmud B'Yada. What does Talmud B'Yada mean? That he has, Rabbeinu Chananel says, that means that he remembers his learning and he knows about Peh. The Marshal says Talmud B'Yada, he has his Chidushim, the Chidushim that he writes are written down. Vishamati Shoyam, I heard that they were saying, Harugei Malchus, Ein Adam Yachal Lamed Mechitzos. And he also said that the Harugei Malchus, the ones that were killed by the government, they died. Kiddush Hashem, then they are so great that nobody can stand in their mechitza, that they're so great. Who are we referring to? If we're referring to the Asar Harugei Malchus, Rabbi Kiva and his Chaverim, Mishum Harugei Malchus, V'suloi, is that the only reason? But they were great Gevaldige Talmidei Chachamim. Ella Harugei Loi. It's referring to those who died al Kiddush Hashem. They died to save the Yidden Harugei Loi. There was a Maisa that the Roman emperor's daughter was found that she was murdered, she was killed. They made an alil against all the inhabitants, the residents of Lud, and they said they would kill them out unless they produced the murderers, the killers. And two people came forward and they confessed to the crime. They were innocent, but they confessed to the crime and they took the blame, and they got killed to save the rest of the people. So Lulianus and Paphos, they were the two that they said that they were the killers, even though they were innocent, and they saved the whole city. So they are the ones that are considered, on account of that they were so great that no one could come into their mechitza. Continuing on the darshaning the psukim in Zechariah that refer to La'asad Lavai, that what will be La'asad Lavai, says Vayamahu al Mitzilos Hasus Kodesh L'Shem. On that day there will be written on the Mitzilos horses Kodesh L'Shem. My Mitzilos Hasus, what does that mean? What is the Mitzilos Hasus? Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi Aser Kodesh Baruch Hu L'Hoisef Al Yerushalayim Ad Sha'asus Ratz Umatz. He said that Yerushalayim will be expanded. So the Meforshim explained it will be expanded because there are so many Yidden that will come to be Makrev Korbanos, and they would need to expand the area of Yerushalayim to be able to eat the Kodshim column in Yerushalayim. They expanded the area of the city, the area that a horse can run each direction, until that it's Ratz o Meitzel, that it makes a shadow underneath it. When does something make a shadow directly underneath it? that's noon. So from the distance it takes for a horse to run from the beginning of the day to noon in each direction, that's what they added on to the area of Yerushalayim. That's one pshat. Rabbi Elazar Omar Kol Metzila Shetel Mesus Bein Einav Yekor Hashem. He says all the bells, the horses typically have bells on them. They adorn their horses with bells. Then they will be Kodesh L'Hashem. The people will take those bells and donate it to the Beis HaMikdash. Rav Yochanan Omer, a different pshat called Biza Shebois in Israel, that the Yidden will take spoils and plunder from Gog and Magog. It said all of that will be that Boizim Yisrael Adshi Ashosh Asus Ratzum Meitzelf, from the time that it takes from morning until noon, the same shot of Tseah, morning till noon, Kodesh L'Shem. They'll donate all of these to the Beis HaMikdash. So all of the spoils that they'll take from the morning till noon, they'll take it and give it to the Beis HaMikdash. According to this last pshat, Rav Yochanan pshat, Hainu Dichsi, we understand what the pasuk says. Vayasir Beis Hashem ki mizrakim l'fnei mizbeach. It says that the pots in the Beis HaMikdash will be like the bowls in front of the mizbeach. Now, the bowls were made out of gold. The pots that they cook in, the pots are typically not made of gold. The pots were made out of copper. So it says that there'll be so much wealth in the Beis HaMikdash that even the pots will be made out of gold. So we understand that according to Rav Yochanan pshat. But according to the other two pshatim, according to the first two pshatim, then what does it have to my vaya Sirius Beveis Hashem? What does it have to do? What is the connection with the Sirius Beveis Hashem? Meaning, if we're talking about that it's the expansion of Yerushalayim, so what does it have to do with the wealth of the Beis HaMikdash? And even if we talk about, the bells, that the Metzil is a lotion of Silsel bells, but Rashi explains that wouldn't have changed the wealth of the Beis HaMikdash to that extent that even the pots were made out of gold. When it says it's not connected, it's an independent thought. It's an independent point. That will become so wealthy and they'll make all these donations to the Beis HaMikdash, and the Beis HaMikdash, it will be that wealthy. Bishlam Lamandam Biza, the one that says that it's Biza, like Rav Yochanan says, Hainu Dichsiv, V'lo Kanani, Oid Beveis Hashem Tzvakos. It says that there won't be any merchants Beveis Hashem Tzvakos. They won't have to deal Hekdesh, and the Gizbar won't have to deal with buying and selling with merchants because they'll be so wealthy. But according to the one who says these two pshatim, other pshatim, my v'lo kanani, what is that referring to? Why does it say v'lo kanani? What does that have to do with it? The fact that the Yerushalayim is expanded or they have bells, why does it say that they won't have merchants anymore? What it means is that lo yeh kanani doesn't mean that they won't have merchants, that they don't have to buy and sell. It means ein kanani, that there won't be any poverty, that there won't be as independent nevuah, that there won't be poor in amongst the Yidden, that there won't be any poor anymore. The Chayr is a little bit difficult in the Gemara, a little share, because we already said that there was an independent nevuah that Metater Yisrael and Misnadim Ma'asid, that they'll make the dovas, and they'll make the dovas. So what's the Gemara's kasha that v'lo yeh knani? Why does it say that? What's the point of we know that this is an independent thought, independent nevuah rather. So what's the Gemara's kasha? What does it mean v'lo yeh knani? So l'chayr it's fair that we already addressed that problem. L'chayr you could say that in a chanami the Gemara is just it could have answered as we said before, but it has a different pshat over here. But could be we could say the pshat is that previously we're saying that there's independent nevuah that the hekdesh will be very wealthy, and that's why the pots will be made out of gold. But just because the fact that they're wealthy, why does that have to say that there is no Kanani? Meaning that according to the Pshat, they say Biza, well, that means that what they captured from Gog and Magog was donated to Hektish. Well, Hektish has to now sell it and sell that for other things to be used for the Avodah on the base of Mikdash and the binyan of the base of Mikdash, etc. So I understand that if it's Biza, then there's a Kanani because they have to exchange it. Now, even if we interpret the pasuk before that the pots were made out of gold as a milsa achrita, that Yisrael were wealthy and they made nedavos, well, fine. If that's telling us that they made nedavos, that they gave the gold and silver, etc., and the precious things to the Hektish, well, then they don't have to exchange it. They don't need a merchant. They have the wealth. Bishlama, if you say that there's a biza, so I understand they had the biza, like Rav Yochanan says. Well, they have to now, that biza are all kinds of items. They have to now sell it and get the items that they need in the base of Mikdash. So they need the gold and silver, etc. So they would have to sell it. But if you say that it's not Biza, if you say it's an independent nevuah, the Mitaz of Yisrael, they'll become wealthy and make nedavos. Well, what are the nedavos that they'll give to the Mishkan? What the Mishkan needs? Why do you need a Kanani? Why do you need a merchant? You don't need a merchant. And on that, the Gemara says, Ein Kanani doesn't mean merchant. It means Kanani, Ein Kanani. It's a separate nevuah that there won't be poor. There won't be poverty, loss of love amongst the Yidden. So Kanani, so according to the Pshat before, we said the Kanani means a merchant. The Kanani Milan Dikra Tagar. Where do we see that Kanani is called a merchant? It says by Yehuda they saw the daughter of a Kanani, so it's referring to over there by a Yehuda and Tamar. He saw the daughter of a Kanani. So what does it mean, Kanani? Kanani mamash. If you mean to say that it means literally someone from Canaan, a Kanani, how could that be? How could it be that Avram Avinu, he warned Yitzchak not to marry from Canaan? And boy, Yitzchak his Yaakov. And Yitzchak was Mazur Yaakov. Yehuda Osval Nosiv, and you're going to tell me that Yehuda went ahead and he married a daughter of a Kanani? So it can't mean literally Kanani. Elamar Bishimon ben Lakish Bas Gavra Tagar means the daughter of a merchant. Tuchsiv Kanan V'Yoda Moisne Mirama. It says that Kanani, why is Kanani called a merchant called Kanani? Because it says about Kanani that he's a merchant that has that Moslaim, the scales of deceit. So he has scales of deceit in his hands. So that's why they use the term a merchant Kanani. This is the traders of princes, the merchants were the chashav of the land. So continuing on with the Nevuah of Zechariah. It says, V'haya Hashem l'melech l'kol ha'aretz. B'yom hu yeh Hashem echad, shmo echad. What do you mean in that day? And the Nevuah lost a love. Now, even today, Hashem is it Lav Echad? Is he not one? Omar Rabbi Achabar Chanina loy ba'koilam hazeh oilam haba oilam hazeh al b'suras tayves oilam baruch tayva meitiv. Means to say that it's not the same that lost a love as in this world, because in Olam Hazeh, on good tidings, when you hear some good news, good tidings, you say, Baruch Tayva Meit. Well, B'suras Royes, Oimer Baruch Dayanemes. And something that is a tragedy, you say, Dayanemes. Lo Olam Habo, Kula Tayva Meitiv. So it'll be Echad. You'll say, Tayva Meitiv on both. And so therefore, that's what it means, Echad. So the Tzlach says, he quotes Rav Ephraim, he says that what's Pshat, loss of Lovai, there will be tragedies, and you'll say that Toiva Meitiv, that you'll say Toiva Meitiv, will there be tragedies of loss of Lovai? And here you can ask, well, and what's a chilek? What's a chilek between Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba? So the way he explains it is the loss of Lovai, when we reflect back on the events of Olam Hazeh, then we'll see that the tragedies were all good. We'll understand, fully comprehend the goodness of Hashem even in the tzarais, and we'll say Atay v'Meitiv even on the tragedies. Ushma Yechad, and it says Shma Yechad. What does it mean to say that his name is one? Atohitna Lav Shma Yechadu. Today his name is not one. So what's the pshat? Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Loi Koilam Hazeh Oilam Haba. It's different. Asilovai and Oilam Hazeh. Oilam Hazeh Nichta Yud K. The way the Shem Hashem is written is Yud K Vav K. V'nikra Balav Dalis. But the way it's pronounced is not by pronouncing the letters Yud K Vav K. It's pronounced by saying Ad Hashem. So it's not the Echad that it won't be the same that today, and rather in Oilam Hazeh, the name, the way it's written and pronounced, is not the same. But Oilam Haba, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced is one and the same. How is that? Nikra b'Yud K, v'nechta b'Yud K. It will be pronounced the way it's written. So Rav Lamidr B'Pirkei, he wanted to darshan publicly how the pronunciation of the Yud K Vav Yud, the Shem Hashem. Amar Le'ahu Saba, an elderly Zaken, said to him, La'olam Ksiv. It says that La'olam means to conceal. So it says that Zeshmin La'olam, Zechri L'dar Vadar, but it's written Chaser, and therefore La'olam, we darshan La'olam, like an Elam, someone who is a mute. So don't speak it, meaning hide it, keep it, conceal it. Ravina Rami says Ksiv Zeshmi La'olam. It says Zeshmi La'olam, which will be Zeshmi La'olam, means that his name Zeshmi La'olam, like we said, La'olam, to conceal it. Zechli Dor Vadar, and it says this is my mention from generation. So Zechli Dor Vadar, which is mashma that you do mention it. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Loi Keshani Nechtav Ani Nikra. It means to say, it's like we mentioned, it's said, but it is not the way it is written. Meaning it is not mentioned, it's concealed the way the pronunciation of the Yud K Vav K is concealed. But it is mentioned as Ad Hashem. Lo Yishani Nikra Nechtav Ani Nikra. Nechtav Ani B'Yud K V'Nikra Ani B'Alev Dalet. Haralach Elo Oivim, Haralach Elo Oivim, Haralach Elo Oivim. Sok the Mishnah, Malkam Shanogu, new parak, Malkam Shanogu. So the Mishnah says, Malkam Shanogu Lasam Melach Barav Psachim Ad Chatzos, in a place where people are night, that the custom is to do Melocha and Erev Pesach until Chatzos Oisin. Then you're allowed to. Malkam Shanogu Shaloi Lasos Einoisin. But in a place where the minhag is not to work before Chatzos, until Chatzos, you're not allowed. Tosfos explains that after Chatzos, it's an Isser, and it's an Isser D'Oraisa. The day that a person brings a korban is also b'malach. On Erev Pesach, after Chatzos, everybody brings a korban Pesach. So that he holds an Isser D'Oraisa. Before Chatzos, it's totally on a minhag. Rashi explains it's only on minhag. Some people are knowing not to do it before Chatzos, because, as the way that Slach understands Rashi, because since a person can't do Melacha after Chatzos, he'll be so preoccupied, if he is allowed to do Melacha, he'll be so preoccupied with his Melacha before Chatzos, he might come not to do properly the beer and bittul chometz and the preparations for the Korban Pesach. So before Chatzos, it's totally on minhag. If a person goes from a place where his minhag is they do work before Chatzos, to a place where they don't, or vice versa, he has the chumras of both places. Meaning, so if he is from a place where they don't work, even if he goes to a place where they do work, he's not allowed to work. If he goes to a place where they do work, he goes to a place where they don't work, similarly, he's not allowed to work. And a person should not do differently than the the custom, the local custom, because the Gemara will ask, well, if he goes from a place where they don't work to a place that he does work, he says he's not allowed to work. So he is deviating from the local custom. The Gemara will ask that question. We'll see. Similarly, if a person takes Peretz of Shvius from a place where there's no Peretz on the field to the place where there is, or vice versa. So the case is talking about on Shemitah. On Shemitah, a person is allowed to he's not allowed to do the Avodah in the field, but he's allowed to take the pears, which are hefker, which are treated as hefker, and he's allowed to eat the pears from the field, which are hefker. He's allowed to feed it to his animals in his house. But that's only so long as there's still available the pears or the tuah for the chayas in the soda. When it's been depleted, when it's no longer there, when there have been kolu, then he has to remove the pears from his house. It's called biur. He has to do the biur, which is either means he has to remove it, or he has to destroy it. Either he has to do mamish biur, either he has to destroy it, or that's machlokes rishonim, or does he have to do, it's enough to do biur, just to remove it from his house and be mafker it. So Rambam says it means that it's actually biur, destroying it, and Taisa says no, it means that he has to be just mafker. But I'll call upon him when that time comes, there's biur, it's shasa biur. Now if a person is in a place, he's taking the pears from a place, Mokum Shekala, where he lives, where the pears is his field, there's nothing left in the field anymore. It's Kala. But he's now going to a place where it's still available in the field. So the people, the local people, it's not the Shas Biur for them. But from the pears from his field, it is the Shas Biur. So he has to be Noig L'chumra and be Mevayer. Or vice versa. If he goes in his place, it's still available in the fields, but locally, in the fields where he is now locally, it's not available. Also has to be Mevayer. Rabbi Yehuda says, we say to him, go and bring it for yourself. So the Gemara will explain what Rabbi Yehuda means to say. The Feresh Yisrael says that when we say that he goes from a mokim, that he goes from a makam shekol, a makam shaloi kol, or a makam shaloi kol, a makam shekol, chayav levayer. He says, if in the case where in his field, in his area, the pears from his field, it's already kolo, so there's a chiyuv biur, so there he's chayav to mevayer. Even if he takes it to another place, that's a chiyuv d'oraisa, because there's chala on this already, a chiyuv of biur. However, in the case where he is in his own area, from his field, it's not kolo. There's no chiyuv of biur. He's going to a place where it's kolo. That is only a minak. That's only a mitam minak.